Welcome back to Real Life Recaps. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Today I have two Reddit stories, and they both seem absolutely crazy. The first story was posted by Throw RA and Gaslit, and there is a trigger warning for SA, so if you don't want to hear that, please skip to the second story. My 33 female husband, 36 male may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. Throw away for safety. I don't even know where to start. The past 6 months have been an absolute cluster F, and it only seems to be getting worse. My best friend since elementary school, who I'll call Alice, passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of her mom after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Last month, Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start finally paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During this conversation, my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. My husband's story is, I don't even know. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago, we threw a large housewarming party as we'd just moved into our dream home after I finally finished residency and was set to make real money for once. Alice was in town and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back till after 3 a.m. The party was winding down. My husband had passed out upstairs, and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange as we hadn't seen each other in months. My husband claims he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claims he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day asking for his advice about him thinking someone SA'd him. But if he cheated, he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party, he has been very distant with Alice. And after she had her daughter, he would even find excuses not to be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated or if Alice did actually SA him and this was his trauma response. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children, and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've also known my husband for over a decade, and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy, and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym, and he's never even given more than a glance. What the hell should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied she liked my husband, let alone want to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get a DNA test before anything is decided on the child's part, but in the meantime, he needs to move out, while I think about what I'm going to do here. TLDR, husband maybe has an affair baby. He claims he was raped by my dead best friend. And now on to the comments. Comment 1. Wow, OP, that is a mess. Paternity test for sure. The old text the next day sealed it for me. I think your friend took advantage of your husband. Good luck. This is the story of the day for me. Comment 2. I'm glad the top comments are also understanding this time, because I've seen really similar stories on here where people absolutely crap on a woman in the same position. Basically, she cheated, dude. You need to dump her, no matter what the circumstances are. Comment 3. SA survivors in general are often reluctant to make a report because they face doubt and shame. Male SA survivors are even less likely to make a report because they are rarely believed, and face derision because sex involves an involuntary physical response on their part, for which ignorant people blame them. Comment 4. There are a lot of comments suggesting a DNA test, but I think you and your husband should consider talking to a family law lawyer first to determine what may happen if the DNA establishes paternity. In all likelihood, his name is not on the birth certificate if Alice was hiding this encounter. I also don't know how your jurisdiction handles parental obligations in situations of SA. Your husband does not seem to be fighting the possibility, so a DNA test won't necessarily solve your marital issues, and it may expose him to responsibility, financial and otherwise, that he clearly has not wanted for the last 2 years. His reaction screams trauma response to me. Not being believed is a victim's worst nightmare. It's hard to be rational with these types of events, but could she have slipped him something? Did she have a history of one-night stands? Could they have been extra chummy because you weren't there and they were drinking? I find it odd she specifically asked about him the first time the baby was over and that she didn't approve of him. On what basis? Edit. Lawyer up and then paternity test. Can you have a calm and collected conversation with your spouse that you want to believe in him, but you're also a mess emotionally and that you need a mediator together, therapist? But mostly lawyer up now. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. OP replied, she was very free-spirited and loved to regale me with her stories of being out on the road. She was very pretty, so you can imagine she didn't do without when she wanted. As for them being chummy, I would have said no if you'd asked me in June. He was always nice to her, but she didn't like him much. She knew I dreamed of being a doctor and was going places in life, while my husband, from all outward appearances, doesn't work that kind of job. He does contract work for companies and the government in project planning. She figured I could and should have done better. Thank you, I appreciate it. My husband is dealing with the DNA stuff and should be contacting a lawyer as well. I'm not sure yet on a therapist, but I'll likely need one eventually. OP's edit. After talking with you, I've come to the realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend SA'd him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying, if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there, in the room while she passed. I held her hands for days. We talked about so much. If it was just an affair, she would have told me. But if she SA'd my husband, she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake, asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gather my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. That it happened only 6 months ago, I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me, it's like I'm losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me and effed my husband, or she betrayed me and SA'd my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve, and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. It was wrong of me to ask him to leave, you're right, though. And as of a few minutes ago, I've righted this wrong. I called my husband, apologized, told him I believe him, and begged him to come home. He'll be here in half an hour at most, and I'm going to support my husband the way I know he would have supported me. I've been an off-and-on Reddit user for several years, and sometimes the advice given on subreddits like these can be a bit hit or miss. But today, you guys did good. You've helped me realize not only that I was wrong, and being stupid at that, but that I was hurting the person that needed me the most. I was selfish. I have no idea what we're going to do as far as the potential daughter is concerned, but I can assure you we'll deal with it together. It's going to take a lot of time and probably a lot of therapy to grieve this new loss. I feel numb now, as though I'll never cry again. My best friend SA'd my husband, which means she was no friend of mine. She flaunted it, coming to my house, sitting with me and gabbing. She brought her child here, trying to rub it in his face right in front of me. She tortured the man I loved, and I was an unknowing party to it. I feel sick to my stomach over how many times she came over, just to hold it over him. I'm honestly at a loss on how to make that up to him. If you all have any ideas, please feel free to give them to me. I think I'll need all the help I can get. Tomorrow I'm going to take a leave of absence from work, just until we can figure out our next steps and we can get our heads on straight. Thank you, everyone. The second story was posted by Lucy Aria Rose. Trigger warning: infidelity, child abandonment, heart attack, death. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's affair, baby's family to either come get the kid, or I'm calling CPS? My female 53, soon-to-be ex-husband Roger, 47, whom I forgave for his affair, came home with a baby 4 months ago. His girlfriend, 22, could not handle it anymore and brought the baby to him at work and left. To the best of his knowledge, she is in Spain. I allowed him to stay so long as I didn't have to do anything. Anything. Well, about a month ago, Roger had a heart attack. It didn't kill him, more's the pity, but he is very weak and incapable of doing anything for himself. Since he isn't up and about, he cannot care for his child. He also cannot drop off and pick up his son at daycare. I have been helping, but I'm done. My kids are full grown. I shouldn't be having grandkids anytime soon. I do not have any desire to care for a baby. I told Roger that I want a divorce, and I contacted the mother's parents. I know the father through friends. I said they had until Friday to come get their grandchild, or I was calling Child Protective Services. They just left with the baby. But they scolded me for being so cold towards a baby that had done me no harm. I view that child differently. Roger is recovering and I will be moving out. The house is in his name, but I have never contributed to it. I have the equivalent of 22 years of rent and interest put away. And as per our prenup, my savings are my own. I work, and I don't need anything out of this marriage except myself. My kids tried telling me to stay and help their father. I said that they were welcome to come over and help him with cleaning himself and the baby. Both declined what I felt was a fair offer. I do not feel that I am acting badly, however Roger, our children, his child's family, and a few mutual friends think I am. Perhaps writing this out and seeing the responses will give me clarity. And now on to the comments. Commenter 1. Not the a-hole. That child was not your responsibility. Yes, it was innocent, but you're literally not responsible for raising it. You should have divorced Roger long ago. OP replied, and God forbid something happens, I literally cannot make any decisions regarding medical care or anything. Commenter 2. Fake, not the a-hole. Seriously? The kid is 4 months old. You could not have possibly forgiven anyone for this level of betrayal. If you've been married for decades, it's your house. So get what you're owed. OP replied, I think the baby is almost a year old. The house was a premarital asset on our prenup. Commenter 3. I looked at lots of these comments. OP, you are not the a-hole for returning the baby to blood relatives who can look after it. But don't be the a-hole to yourself by abandoning your home without consulting an attorney and making sure you aren't entitled to some of the equity or some of his retirement savings. Don't walk away without getting all that is yours. You said that you have 22 years worth of savings. That's not a lifetime worth. You might need more to be okay, and you should make sure to get it on your way out. OP replied, I have a little over $1 million in investments. I'll be fine. He paid for everything. I kept all my money. Commenter 4. Women these days are cold as F. OP replied, I can forward you their info if you are volunteering to take over. Update almost 1 month later. I am no longer divorcing Roger. There were complications from his heart attack and he has passed away. I am conflicted. He was the love of my life, but also a cheating piece of trash. To the best of my knowledge, the mother will not return from Europe. The child is currently with her parents. They asked me what I wanted to do. I recommended adoption. Not that I adopt the child, that they put the child up for adoption. They didn't like that suggestion. Neither did my children. They said I am being cold and cruel. I suggested that since the child was related to them and not to me, that they step up. Neither has accepted that suggestion either. I was the sole beneficiary of Roger's estate, so I imagine lawyers will be involved in getting the child some sort of support. I will pay whatever is ordered by the court out of the estate. I will not pay 1 cent out of my money. That is all I have to say on this matter. Final update: the girl's parents finally did the right thing and cut her off. I had passed along their contact information to several dozen Redditors who seemed eager to help. Just an email. I did not reveal their identities or even their names. I believe this pressure convinced them to act. They finally got the clue that I would in no way take any responsibility for the child. Between her parents no longer funding her and the current climate in Spain, against visitors, the child's mother has returned. I have washed my hands of the entire situation, except for one thing. I have spoken with the lawyers and I will be splitting some of Roger's estate into 3 parts for the children. My children will get theirs immediately as they are adults. The child's money will be going into a trust with his brother and sister as the trustees. This will take some doing, and as such will mean more money goes to the lawyers. My children are now less enthusiastic about their young sibling, but that is neither here nor there. They were the ones who insisted I involve myself. If there is anything left when I pass, they can split that between themselves, as I will not be leaving anything to that child. Thank you all for your help in reaching clarity. I was letting my anger cloud my judgment and sense of fairness. Wow, these 2 stories are just bonkers. I think that they both have the best outcome for them, though. What are your opinions about these stories? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you, and have a great day.